Hello and welcome to this special transmission regarding the Senate election 2021. Viewers, if you have been following our coverage, our discussion, you'll know that today is the big day when the Senate elects half of its members. And we are going to actually look at what is the breakup as well. Remember that the total number of the Senate of Pakistan is 104. And out of that, usually the elections take place after every 3 years for retiring 52. But this time there has been a change in the plan, and that plan is regarding FATA or erstwhile FATA. In the past, erstwhile FATA had 8 seats when it had its own individuality, but now it has been merged with the province of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So now when you look at the numbers, when you look at overall people who are retiring, the number is 52, which is the half of the house. But the elections have to take place in 48 seats. 4 are going to be abolished. But having said that, remember that Punjab, which is the most populous province, has already elected 11 members uncontested. So the total number of people who are running, the seats which are in contention is 37. And as we progress in the program, we are going to give you the formula and we are going to talk about the breakup as well. Right now, it seems that the focus especially has shifted to one seat in Islamabad, and that one seat is, as I pointed out, Islamabad, but the contention or the contest is between Yusuf Raza Gilani, the former Prime Minister, and the sitting Finance Minister. We are going to talk about all these matters in the program, but first let us go to the Parliament of Pakistan. Shabir Ahmed Wagra, our correspondent, is standing by to actually inform us of what exactly is going on. Shabir, thank you very much for joining us. Let me ask you about the electoral process right now. Is it going on? And secondly, let me also ask you about the timing. I understand that it started early in the morning and it is going to continue till 5. Am I correct, sir? Please go ahead.
Islamabad, which will be which will be elected from National Assembly. That started 9 a.m. in the morning, right? 9 a.m. PTI member of National Assembly, he casted his vote, and after that the process is going on, and it will continue till 5 p.m. And after 5 p.m. the people who will be inside the National Assembly hall, they will be allowed to cast their vote as well, because National Assembly Hall has been declared as polling station, and there are 4 polling booths inside the hall. They have been established to facilitate the members of National Assembly to cast their vote. The members of National Assembly to cast their vote. The process was a little slow earlier in the morning from 9 to 10 a.m. But after that, it got pace, and right now it's going on with a lot of members. They are coming and they are casting their vote and they are going back. When we talk to different members who went inside and casted their vote, they were very much satisfied from the arrangements done by Election Commission of Pakistan.
Let me ask you another important question. At 5 o'clock, we are going to actually see the end of the electoral process. But can you give us any idea when to expect the tabulated results coming in?
Yes, Tafi Sahab, it is expected that almost after 1.5 hours, we can expect initial results, because there are 341 eligible voters, that 341 National Assembly members who can cast their votes. So it won't take much time to calculate all those votes. But the expectation is that around 6 or 6:30, we will be able to get initial results.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Islamabad seat as well, and the modus operandi when it comes to the electoral process? I understand that it is a single transferable vote. But does that mean that each candidate, each voter actually gets one ballot paper?
No, Tafsab, because there are two seats, one is a general seat and one is a women's seat. So that is why every voter will get two ballot papers, one for the general seat and one for the women's
Yeah,
seat.
one for each category,
At
right?
the end of
Okay,
each
Shabir
vote.
Bagra, thank you very much for joining us. Do stay put. We will keep on checking with you. Let me now come to the studio. In the studio, we are joined by Irfan Ghori Saab, a senior journalist who helps us understand what is going on at this moment. Irfan Ghori Saab, thank you very much for being part of the program. And on Skype, we are joined by Dr. Niaz Murza, who is a political economist of renown, also a columnist for one of the leading papers. Thank you very much, Dr. Saab, for being part of the program as well. And just before we go to the discussion, let me remind you, yesterday we were talking about, in my show, we were talking about a video that came in, and that was about the former Prime Minister Yusuf Raza Gilani, who is also a candidate from Islamabad. His son's video in which he seems to be actually convincing some PTI members to actually destroy their vote. But after that, there has been a development. One audio also has emerged in which he allegedly is offering bribe, and he is telling that rates can be up or down. And we are going to talk about all these matters, and then we are going to look at the possible outcome of the election as well. Irfan Ghori Saab, your take on the election today. Kindly start with the video that emerged.
Thank you very much, Farooq Saab. One thing is that as the Supreme Court has also observed, number one, we are clear that they have said that it should be through the secret ballot.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they have reminded the Election Commission that it is their responsibility, constitutional responsibility, to make this process transparent as much as possible. We understand that the time was very limited after the verdict of the court has came, and it's a short order. And it might not have been possible for Election Commission to adopt any other measure. But when it comes to these videos, not only this video, but also there are many other videos that have been circulating on the social media and even on the on the conventional media as well.
Okay.
It is now the responsibility of Election Commission to investigate. And I think they have already had.
They have taken notice of the video.
They have
I
taken
don't know
notice.
about the audio, but they have taken
about
notice.
the notice. But then, you have to, of course, when you have to, because here the court would have to use its judicial powers. So for that.
Which court?
We are talking about Election Commission would be using its judicial powers as well.
Okay.
So in that case, of course, they would be, having hearings, and it won't be. We cannot expect that right away they would be disqualifying or they would be taking an action. But taking notice means that there would be some proceedings. But I think because of the advancements in technology, and we have, and all you need is to verify that what has been, as you said, that there, after that, because the first video there is no, you can say that there is a provision that if a candidate, it convinces somebody or it coerces somebody to destroy a vote, that's a crime. But here it is not the candidate. It is
as per the law, if a voter destroys his vote, it is a crime, right? So anybody who is actually convincing him is actually just aiding them in committing that crime. So that becomes some kind of offense as well, but electoral laws are not very clear. Let me bring in Dr. Niaz Murza here as well. Dr. Niaz Murza, of course, we are going to talk about the outcome. We are going to talk about the results as well, and how things are building up. But first, this video and the following audio. What do you make of it? Dr. Saab, you'll have to unmute your camera, your phone, I think your Skype, so that we can hear you.
This is a very serious matter.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir. We can hear you.
PCP should take, firm action on it. It should display the same resolve that it showed in the Dhaska matter, although, of course, the issue is a bit smaller. But, the only way to, curb these kind of activities is to, take strict action. Now, the video itself did not have, money issues, but it still talks about, destroying a ballot. So as you were saying, this can be seen as a betterment. Now, of course, it's not the candidate, the opposition candidate itself. It's his son. So, the election commission will have to see, what kind of punishments are possible. But definitely, I don't think it should just ignore it, irrespective of, the result, whether Mr. Gilani wins or loses. The election commission of Pakistan should take notice of that. And then, there are other videos also floating around, as Mr. Irfan Wari said. Then there are also, newspaper items that, the Prime Minister was meeting a lot of MPs and promising them, money for their constituencies. The Election Commission of Pakistan should also take a look at that, whether that's justifiable so close to the Senate elections.
Amazingly, I'm glad that we have landed there, because there seems to be this both sidism, or if you pardon the expression, a little bit of whataboutism in going on in the social media, where it is said that, okay, the smoking gun that you have found should be explored and it should be checked, but you'll have to then also take care of everything that is being said on the social media. I hope you are not saying that. You are saying something else, right, sir?
No, I'm only looking at those issues for which there is tangible evidence, and there is a video that's tangible evidence, and we also know that justice should be even-handed. It should cover all the parties involved, not just the opposition. So
absolutely, sir. Absolutely,
so
sir. And we are going to, as we progress in the program, we are going to actually do justice to all these issues. We are going to try to tackle all of them. But let us first come back to the issue of Islamabad candidate, because we are talking about the video that is circulating already, Wari Sahab. And the biggest problem here is that this election takes place within the confines of National Assembly, because it is a federal seat. There is no say of any provincial assembly here. The question now is, do you think that the media, which has been building up anticipation in this regard, is correct in actually pointing out that it is a high stakes game? Or in the end, it is only one seat out of 98 that is going to be there, and hence won't be that much significant at all?
Farooq Sahab, of course, it's a one seat, but sometimes one seat matters. Like in this case, where it is you need 171 members to elect a member, be it the general seat or the women's seat. But since Gilani Saab was fielded and he was making, and his party, and then when we see that the whole opposition alliance. So in a scenario, in a hypothetical scenario, if Gilani Saab wins, that doesn't mean that the government is going to fall, but it will have, very grave political, implications. Like it would be considered that, the government has lost the majority.
Right.
Though we know that the Prime Minister doesn't fall, because it's either he resigns or you have to come up with vote of no confidence or whatever. But the thing is that
let us qualify also the point that you are making. He is the bind, so to speak. When you are looking at the numbers in this, of course, it is coming from the National Assembly, and because it is secreted ballot and there is no official bar on the floor crossing, there will be a possibility that the number can spike in one direction or the other. But when it comes to no confidence movement against any Prime Minister, the law forbids anybody to cross the floor. So whatever takes place now is not going to reflect on the Prime Minister's candidature in any case.
No, that's we know that is not through a secret ballot. It's the open sort of. But but of course it will put pressure on the ruling party.
Yeah.
And it is not only, it's not matter of 1 or 2 votes. It's we know that combined strength of the opposition is around 160.
Okay.
And when you need 171, that means you would at least, you would need at least 11, 12 members. So, buying or changing the loyalties of 11, 12 members, be it the members from the ruling party or its coalition partners, it is something that would be, that is a challenging thing. Of course, it is not an easy thing, but in a hypothetical scenario, that would have quite far-reaching political implications, especially moral implications, I would say.
Right. Let me take the same question to you, Dr. Niaz Mirza. Do you think that this Islamabad Senate seat, because it is being discussed on television ad nauseum, is really that high stakes, or it is actually the media that keeps on using its creative imagination to attach more value to something which is ordinary?
Well, as far as the calculation of the Senate itself is concerned, every seat is crucial because, the margin is expected to be very, very close. There were some, calculations done, and it seemed, that, just 1 or 2 seats will, differentiate the tally of the opposition and the government, and it could go either way. So in that sense, every seat is very crucial from the point of view of, the chairperson and the deputy chair elections that will follow the Senate elections. It's very, very crucial. But what makes, the Islamabad seat more high stake is the fact that it is the same electoral college for this seat as that for, of course, a vote of no confidence against the Prime Minister or the Speaker. But then, the issue is it doesn't necessarily mean that suppose that if Mr. Yusuf Raza Gilani wins, it doesn't necessarily mean that there will automatically be a vote of no confidence which will succeed, because people can change minds, especially given the fact that, if there's a vote of no confidence against the Speaker or the Prime Minister, first of all, it will have to be an open vote, unlike the closed secret Senate vote. And then in that election, party MPs have to stick to their party line. So it will be more difficult, even if Mr. Yusuf Raza Gilani wins here, which is not assured. I would still give, higher a chance to the government candidate because they have the numbers.
Dr. Saab, let me take you back to one comment that you made. You said that according to certain calculations, the difference might actually end up being of 1 or 2, votes. At this moment, when I'm looking at the number, the government and its allies, it is 181. And when I'm looking at the number of the opposition, it is 160 in total. And especially yesterday, there was a khana or a lunch hosted by the government, and 176 MPs actually, MNAs actually showed up. So, don't you think that this idea that somehow the number or the vote is going to be close?
I'm talking about the number in the Senate for the Senate chair elections. That is
I'm talking about National Assembly's breakup, sir, and then I'm looking at the numbers that showed up at the government's luncheon yesterday. So that would actually show you that at least the government has more than majority on its side.
You were referring to the comment that I made that it will be very close. When I made that comment,
exactly,
I was talking about the numbers in the Senate itself, not in the National Assembly. Once the Senate elections are over.
Okay, I get that point now. But do you think that election is going to be close in this seat as well?
Well, it could be. I mean, I think the government's position has strengthened a bit in the last 1 or 2 days because the MQM and GDA finally came out openly. The MQM was, unclear about its position. It was also talking to the PPP, but then yesterday it made a clear, announcement that it's going to support PTI. And if it sticks to that, then of course, the government position, I think, has strengthened in the last 1 or 2. Same thing with the GDA. But it's still going to be close. There could be, last minute surprises. So we'll know by the evening. But if you ask me who has a stronger chance, I would say Mr. Hafiz Sheikh.
Right. Before I actually discuss anything further, let me remind viewers that they can, in the middle window, they can see that the election is going on at this moment as we speak. and votes are being cast, then I would also request to both of my guests a little bit. Dr. Saab, since you are on Skype, may I request you to shift slightly towards your right so that you can come in the center of the window, and you'll have to silence your, it is on vibration.
Now I have silence.
Okay, right. Now let us talk about what exactly is happening, right? We have looked at what might happen at the federal seats. Now let us go to Punjab, where already 11 seats have been, declared. 11 candidates have been declared winners unopposed. What exactly happened there?
I think, Farooq, the same apprehensions that we have been talking here, they were there as well. And then the speaker, he played his role because, of course, it is being said that there were chances that
Speaker Punjab Assembly?
Yes, Punjab Assembly.
Parvez
Ilahi, he rather played very smartly because we know that in Punjab they have only 10 members, but with those members they have not only got the speaker seat, but they have also now elected a senator, for which they needed more than 40 votes, I think 49 votes for a general seat. So what has been done there is that, as per the strength of the political parties, mainly, we know that it's PTI and PMLN, and along with PMLN there were few votes from PPP as well. So those candidates, who were the ones.
There was some seat adjustment, right?
Not only seat adjustment, they withdrew.
I'm going to come back to you. I'm told that Shakhawat Saab joins us on telephone. He is a former Attorney General, former Justice as well. Shakhawat Saab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. At this moment, we are looking at the electoral process that is going on, but we are also looking at the videos that have come up in the past 24 hours. What do you think might be the punishment if this piece of evidence is proven to be true, sir?
Well, the Senate elections are going on today. All of the provincial assemblies and the National Assembly are in process of electing their respective members of Senate. And one thing is manifest from the results which the political parties obtained in the general elections, both in the provincial and the central legislature, as a matter of principle, and the Senate elections should also reflect results according to the votes they have already taken in the national assemblies and the provincial assemblies, and according to the number of their parliamentarians. But there could be some upset on certain seats because on the giving the vote for a person without the direction of a political party or the parliamentary party does not entail any penal consequence on a member. If you see Article 63A of the Constitution, which provides defection penalty to a member of the parliament who votes against the will and decision of the parliamentary party. But it does not cover the elections of the Senate of Pakistan. So the intent of the legislature is that since the Senate of Pakistan is the upper house, so the free hand should be given to the members, the electoral college members who have to elect. They can give preferences to other candidates also other than their party candidates, because every voter has a single transferable vote. So it does not entail any consequence, penal consequence on a person who deviates from the decision of the party, giving vote to another.
Shakhawat sir, my question was, thank you very much for actually this answer, because it helps us understand what might be a cognizable offense and what might not be. But let me ask you another question that I asked earlier. A video has surfaced, sir, in which one of the candidate's son is actually telling people to destroy the votes, the way to actually destroy the vote, A. and then there is an audio of the very same person who has owned at least the video, who's actually trying to bargain, and there is money involved. Do you think that this will constitute any kind of offense at all, sir?
Yes, of course, of course. These sort of practices are called corrupt practices committed even during the polls, before the poll, or after the polls. Okay. This is an offense, yes, because the sanctity of ballot is always guaranteed by the law, by our constitution, by our election laws. So it comes into the knowledge of the Election Commission of Pakistan that any such malpractice has been committed, it has come into the knowledge of the Election Commission of Pakistan. Yes, according to the mandate given by the Constitution to the Election Commission of Pakistan, they can proceed against any person who has violated any law pertaining to the elections and who has tried to rig the election or to commit any malpractice. Yes, the Election Commission of Pakistan has the power. And this stance has been already reiterated by the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan, which just gave its opinion on the presidential reference, in which they have very in detail, they have discussed the role of the Election Commission of Pakistan and have also reminded the Election Commission of Pakistan their responsibilities and duties to guard corrupt practices in the elections. So this has
and that's I'm grateful that you actually brought up that matter as well, because when the Honorable Supreme Court of Pakistan actually gave that opinion, there was this debate that is that opinion in its entirety actually binding on all the institutions, or the first part, that was the interpretation regarding Article 226, was only binding, and the rest regarding the Election Commission's role and the possibility of use of technology in the election process, all of that was supplementary and was not binding. This was the debate that was going on. Yes. And then we saw that Election Commission actually decided that it is not going to use technology. It created a surveillance committee. Do you think that it actually fulfills the requirement that was highlighted by the Supreme Court's opinion?
One thing we must bear in mind, because there are three types of jurisdictions conferred by the Constitution to the Supreme Court of Pakistan. One is the appellate jurisdiction, one is the advisory jurisdiction, and third one is the original jurisdiction. So the jurisdiction which just assumed by the Supreme Court was the advisory jurisdiction, the answer to a question or a question of law placed by the President of Pakistan before him. So it could not be termed as a judgment of the Supreme Court of Pakistan. It is just an opinion which was sought by the Prime Minister in respect of interpretation of a particular provision of the Constitution, which has been answered, and it has no binding effect. It has just a guiding effect. It could be on the Election Commission of Pakistan. In the advisory opinion, they have given some direction. They cannot give the directions. They could just ask the Election Commission of Pakistan. But one thing is very clear, that the Constitution itself has provided vast powers to the Election Commission of Pakistan to hold elections in free, fair and impartial manner, and corruption and corrupt practices to be guarded by the Election Commission of Pakistan. So this is understood. That the
no, sir, that is understood, Sharhawat Sahab, but here's the problem. I understand that when it comes to the law, it actually defines the contours of behavior very clearly. But what kind of weapons or what kind of tools does it provide to the Election Commission of Pakistan to ensure it? Because it doesn't have its own army, it doesn't have its own surveillance system, it doesn't have its intelligence service. So that becomes a problem, right, sir?
Yes, the capacity of the Election Commission could be enhanced. Yes, they must have their own permanent surveillance and intelligence setup. Yes, because they keep on keep an eye on the corrupt practices even before the elections, during the elections, and after the elections. Right. So this is a good thing that the Election Commission has constituted a surveillance committee, but it needs to be more enhanced. Its role should be more visible and effective.
Yeah, and for that one will need a lot of laws as well, perhaps. But Shah Khabar Sahab, thank you very much sir, for being part of the program. Let me go back to Dr. Niaz Murza. Dr. Niaz Murza, we are looking at the way results are coming in. Actually, the process is going on, and you have listened to Shah Khabar Sahab as well. If you recall, in 2018, I don't know about you, but for me, because you have been coming into this program, that was a watershed moment, the Senate election of 2018, when Raza Rabbani was replaced by the incumbent. And there seemed to be this special pleasure that was quite visible when it came to the attitude of Asif Ali Zardari Sahab, that he had thrown one candidate under the bus and he had chosen another. At this moment, it seems that whatever we are hearing from Zardari Sahab or his party is this astounding pleasure being taken in this kind of wheeling dealing. Do you think that there is a way to actually discourage this attitude in politics?
Well, again, it comes back to, having, strict laws, and then, the ability to, monitor.
Yeah.
And in some senses, it's not what the ECP is doing, but it's just, the widespread technology available within society with all these camera, telephones, and so on, that so many videos keep coming up. So I think now there are questions about how much of them are admissible, how clear they are, and so on. But in one way, all of them can help Election Commission of Pakistan. The other thing is, they have, now established a committee of 3 or 4 people, including their IT person and so on. And then the Minister of Science and Technology has also offered to, provide them with the latest technology. They should really take a look at, how other countries control this kind of issue, the neighboring countries, more advanced countries, and try to see, how they curb malpractices like this. Now, obviously, Mr. Asif Zardari has this certain reputation, one Zardari heavy on everybody and so on. And, this is the way he operates. And actually, it was he who was the mastermind behind getting PDM to, actually participate in the Senate elections and the by-elections. And to some extent, that has paid off, because it put PTI on the back foot. What happened in the by-elections with the results, and then the fiasco in Dhaska, then even with the Senate, you see so much chaos within the ranks of PTI that you don't see within the ranks of PDM. So
No,
to that extent,
but hang on, sir. But don't you think that this is this lack of discipline or this kind of chaos that you are pointing out is the curse of governance? Because when in 2018 we saw PMLN, it used to face the same kind of pressure. In 2013 or 2012, we saw that People's Party's government used to face the similar kind of pressures. So it might have something to do with the politics of governance rather than government being under pressure at this moment, don't you think?
well, normally you expect, the ruling party to have more perks available, more carrots and sticks available to keep
Yeah.
its party members in line. So, what you saw in the no confidence motion against the Senate chair, that
Yeah.
was exactly on display, that, the perks that the government had, it was able to utilize them, and, it was able to, defeat the motion, despite
Yeah.
the fact that the opposition had much higher numbers, a very comfortable majority of about 15. So, the question is, why has that changed
Right.
so suddenly?
At this moment, let me, sorry to cut you, Dr. Saab, but at this moment, as you can see that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has arrived to cast his vote, and he is being greeted by other party members. The Foreign Minister of Pakistan is visible. The Finance Minister, who is actually a candidate in this election, can also be seen accompanying the Prime Minister. And at this moment, you can see the live footage coming from the National Assembly of Pakistan, where the Prime Minister of Pakistan has reached to actually cast his vote. And at this moment, you can see the Prime Minister of Pakistan, who is actually registering his vote, and then he's going to actually taking the ballot, and then he's going to cast his vote. These visuals are coming from the National Assembly of Pakistan, live from the National Assembly of Pakistan. At this moment, voting is going on. We saw that a voter from the MQM has just actually cast his vote, but the Prime Minister of Pakistan has just collected his ballot, and at this moment you can see that at this moment he is about to cast his vote. And given the politics of the country, whenever the leader of the House or leader of the opposition is there, usually you see a lot of politicians, a lot of MPs and ministers actually gathering around them. And at this moment, the Prime Minister is waiting for his turn. He is about to cast his vote, and he has just collected the ballot paper, and we are showing you the visuals coming live from the National Assembly of Pakistan. Meanwhile, the process of voting continues. The Prime Minister was in a queue, and now he is heading to the box where he is actually going to stamp and then cast his vote. This is these are the visuals coming live from the National Assembly of Pakistan, and you can see that the Prime Minister of Pakistan has arrived. He has collected his ballot paper, and he is now actually filling it, and then he is going to cast his vote. And it seems that he's now done the first thing, that is to fill the ballot paper. Now he's going to actually put it in the box. You can see the live visuals, and this is the Prime Minister of Pakistan at this moment casting his votes, and he has put in both the ballot papers in the ballot box. The Prime Minister has cast his vote. I'm told that Dr. Niaz Mirza has to leave. So let me thank Dr. Niaz Mirza for his participation. Thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. At this moment, meanwhile, we keep on showing you the visuals coming from the National Assembly. The Prime Minister of Pakistan just has cast his vote, and now the electoral process continues. Other members of the National Assembly are casting their votes. Irfan Wari Sahab, you have listened to the discussion that has gone on. Shah Khawar Sahab told us about the process, and then Dr. Niaz Mirza also actually informed us about various aspects. At this moment, do you think that this kind of behavior should be discouraged? That was quite visible from the opposition side, particularly People's Party, or everything is fair and love and war?
Farooq, I think every time when such an event takes place, we discuss those things. You would recall that earlier it was the FATA seats, where it was considered that it is the most, the prize seats they were considered, and the most horse trading was taking place in those seats. And then in last elections, especially in Sindh, as per the number of members in the assembly, People's Party was supposed to get around 5 to 6 seats, but they ended up having 10 seats. So that was possible because of the members from opposition, especially the then MQM. They voted for many of their members. They voted for People's Party candidates. Same, you also mentioned about the election of the chairman,
right.
Senate, when on one and then the vote of no confidence.
Yeah.
So when all these political parties, when something favors them, they.
But again, regardless of what might be the logic, bad behavior should be discouraged, right?
It not only it should be discouraged, but also it is the
Punishable by law.
responsibility of the political parties when they talk about the sanctity of vote. Vote ko
Right.
izzat do. So what does that mean? Where
Vote
does
ko
that
izzat
stand?
was not being given here. I'm told that, sir, we have to actually take a break, but this is the end of the segment. Irfan Wari Sahab, thank you very much, sir, for being part of the program. Let me once again thank Dr. Niaz Mirza, who must have left by now, but let me, through the screen, thank him for his participation, and Shah Khawar Sahab as well. And Shabir Ahmed Bagra was also with us. Let me keep on reminding you that our team of reporters is continuously updating us. This was the end of this segment. We take a break. When we come back, we are going to be joined by a new panel. Take a break.